Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, if there are any of you watching. Let me just see whether this is going to update itself. It should do. Excellent. That seems to have gone live, which is always a positive. Let me remove that screen out of harm's way so I don't bash it and send it flying. There we are. That can go there. Cool. And I'm just going to do a little bit of sharing, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching what I'm doing. So that... Hi, Sam. Thank you. Can you just let me know that you can see and hear me? Because I've got the sound turned off on my phone, so I can't tell. I can see it's broadcasting, but that's okay. Cool. And I've got one more group to share it to. So let me just do this, and then we'll just wait quite happily for things to happen. Hi, Jan. Hi, Sheila. Oh no! Now I've turned the phone off. That I shouldn't be let loose with technology. Honestly, I shouldn't. Excellent. Let's just pop that over there, out of harm's way, and then I can see what's going on. Hi, Jill, Anthony, thank you for joining us. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Faith. Hi, Julie. Hey, so good. Well, I have a lot of bits all ready to go, but we just need to wait a little bit, let a few more people come in. Oh, they're joining nicely, little by little. So Penta asked me about a week ago to do the live tonight, setting the topics of wedding, floral, or anything I wanted. So I've gone with wedding-ish, floral, definitely, and products that I like to use that maybe are a little bit different to the ones that we often see. And I've had a little play with some colours and some products onto neat board, and a little play with some different crackles because I have to have those. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, I think you probably have this set of molds because I have two of them. So one of these was in your bundle. So I've done just a little bit of prep. And how does this become wedding? Well, I think a perfect day, which I'm going to pop inside, probably makes it into a wedding keepsake box. Because I just think that every bride needs a box to keep, whether it's a garter, whether it's special jewellery, whether it's special notes, copies of invitations, meal planners, maybe the favours, lots of things that we might need, and then this is an alternative once upon a time. So that's my thought process behind this thing, to make it into it. So the only prep I have done is I've cast these pieces from resin, and they have been pre-coated with the Pent-Up bonding primer, so it's had plenty of time to dry. And I've got some bits of woody bend, so sort of a wood pulp composite with a product that makes them flexible, and these have been primed ahead of time with the acrylic primer. Because these are a porous surface, the acrylic primer works fine, whereas for the resin, which is a non-porous surface, the bonding primer, for my mind, is the better option. And then I'm going rogue with my box because tonight I haven't bothered priming it. And that's because actually I'm going to be using some sparkling gels. Now, for those of you who know me, you'll know that I really don't do sparkle. But these have a colour in them and a shimmer and really aren't too sparkly at all. There we are. So, hence the process, and some of it, going to cover. So this is the red gold, so red base with gold sparkle in it, and it will, perhaps if I had a soft brush it would work better. There we are. And it will give me a colour over my wood piece, and I've just got a wooden box here that will dry quite quickly and still allow some of the texture of the wood to show through, and will give it a very, very gentle shimmer. And I'm actually going to, I'm sorry to be boring, ladies, but I'm going to cover quite a lot of this box with this, and then I'm going to add some layers, because it wouldn't be me if I didn't add some layers. And I know that this isn't going to give me complete coverage, that there will be an opacity, a translucency rather, to this layer, because of the nature of the sparkling gel. It's in a gel, not which means that it's got a translucent base in spite of the colour, and that was the look that I was wanting to go for. And as you can see, it really does cover quite nicely, reasonably quick, easily, and it will dry fairly well. And you think, well, you've got a rice paper, so you're going to pop rice paper over that. The answer is, on the top, I'm not. I'm going to add some more details. But I wanted this as a base colour, and this, of course, is when it always gets to be a little bit of a nightmare on a live with a box, because you've now got lots of different layers to cover, and edges and the rest of it. So hey ho. So just bear with while I work my way around. So we're at, as I say, we're using products that I think perhaps don't get used so very often, but actually are very luxurious when it comes to their finished result. And I think that's what you want if you're creating a piece that's going to hold you know, pieces that you hold dear to your heart. You want something that is going to be luxurious. You maybe don't want something that's full on modern vibe, because it won't stand the test of time. You want something that is classic in its appearance, I think. Hello, Blanche. Thank you for joining us this evening. So we're just going to do a little bit of painting, as I say. I didn't want to do masses of prep ahead of time, because actually that defeats the purpose, doesn't it, of doing that. And the problem is, if I could move my camera up a little bit, it might make you seasick, and it will give us a slightly bigger field of view. So let me just pull up and just move it over a little bit. I think whatever we do, it's always a little bit of a challenge to set these up, but I can see that there is a beautiful shimmer in this, and as I move it actually on my screen, I can see that there is a gold sparkle, just adding a little bit of luxury to the finished pieces. So I've just bopped my camera with the brush. I do apologize. So when I'm doing lives using StreamYard, my camera is set higher up and I use OBS to focus in. But when I'm doing, for Pentop, we're using StreamYard these days, and actually there isn't a zoom in function, so you have to move your camera to do that. Very frustrating, but hey ho, so be it. You just have to get used to the ways it is. For here, I will paint the inside of this off camera using the gold sparkling gel, probably over an ivory base to cover some of this up. It's the outside I want to get covered for now, and it's drying pretty quickly. I'm in my crafty conservatory, and it is still quite warm in here. Sorry, ladies, if that's going to make you seasick. I will pop this flat down once I've done the sides, because actually it's the top that I'm going to be concentrating on afterwards. So there we are. So you can see one coat, beautiful colour, not bright red, not a scary post office red, quite a classic tone that I think will work really well with the roses in my rice paper. And I have to give a huge shout out to the lovely Jo Rowe, because I didn't have anything sort of really weddingy in my crafty stash. Yes, I know that might come as a huge surprise to people, but I really didn't. And so she special delivered me out some piece, the rice paper I'm using. And although I ordered two, I've decided that one of them isn't right colour tone for this, though it could be used for lining the box because it's very pretty. But for tonight, I'm concentrating on just the floral image that was sent to me. But I am very grateful for her swift delivery of the piece, so that I could get on with things. And of course, I will paint the back of the bottom of the box later on. Anyway, so let me just pop that on there, and let's give that a little bit of a blast dry. It's only but I do like this very much. Chips is that now in Anthony, actually I never have vinegar with chips. Although I was brought up in the south and chips and vinegar would be the north, I have to say I am a northerner convert, and it's chips and gravy for me, or European style chips and mayonnaise. I know, horror of horrors. Anyway, right, that's given that a little off dry, so we can pop that there. I'm going to wipe the red off my hands, because it's really not a very attractive look for doing the rest of it. Now, I thought about using white cracking paint on this, and then which is why I did my little wooden test piece, so that you can understand my process. So I've got two different paints underneath here, and this one is the ivory cracking paint system, and this is the white. And when I popped these against my rice paper against them, I just felt that the ivory was a nicer match overall. If the background was more white, then the white would have worked better. So that's the logic, and sometimes it pays to do that little test piece so that you know where you're going with your piece, and you can see what's happening overall. So the cracking paint system comes in two parts, paint system 1 and paint system 2. Well, that's easy enough, isn't it? We have been very busy buying those, but I didn't get any wedding ones because I hadn't been asked to do the live at the point I placed my order for those. But hey ho. And I have a nasty feeling that I might be placing another order, having seen a whole mountain more images, Sam. But there we are. But that's for another place. So this is just, as I say, the cracking primer system 1, and it's a paint system, unlike the one I had on Create and Craft at the weekend, for those of you that watch those shows, which is a paste. This is a paint, and again, I think that in terms of live serpentite, it doesn't get used very often, though again, some of you will know I tend to use it quite a lot, just because I love crackle. And I could cover the whole box in crackle, but actually I just felt that was possibly a bit too much overall. I might change my mind. I might not. We might do it in stages, and we might, that's the prerogative of creating for yourself, isn't it? You can change for what you want to do. So that needs to go onto there. That needs a little bit of a dry, so let me just park that on the floor, though I suspect we might need to do a bit more with it. And let's have a little mop of that lot. Sorry about the squeakiness, I know that is a really horrible noise. So I have two different sets here. So these pieces will ultimately sit on top of these pieces. So I'm linking my layers, which is something you'll find that I do an awful lot of. So these are flexible wood pieces, and I have coated these with the acrylic primer because they are porous. And sometimes with these, when you're adding to the sparkling gels as a colour, you'll find that you need to have more than one layer to give good coverage. On the wooden box itself, it doesn't matter because I was looking to be able to see through to show some of the details of the wood. But if you're covering over white and you don't want to see through the whole piece, then adding an extra layer is a good thing to do. But these are covering reasonably well. And horror of horrors, yes, Anthony, I am going to be getting some brown out to distress it all because my rice paper has that brown hue around its edge and is therefore more vintage in its overall effect. So again, that's my helpful thought process as to why I'm doing what I wanted. You know, some nice person in the UK craft channels commented that mixed media was just about layering product on top of each other and making a mess. Well, I absolutely totally disagree with it. Said person also said that mixed media would count as if you were adding paper and glue to a project, which again, surprise surprise, whilst it might be a definition because paper and glue are two different mediums, it's definitely not my definition of mixed media. But each to their own opinion, of course, because we're all entitled to it. Yes, brown, Anthony, but subtly brown. Subtly brown. And that's a key, isn't it? You know, it depends very much on the look that you want and that you're going for. The white just wasn't going to work in with the paper. Yeah, I do think they were very silly, Sam, but you know, each to their own views of life. I do try and be open and open to other people's ideas, even if we disagree with them. That they're entitled to their opinion, madness though it might be seen for those of us truly mixed media. I do think that actually Sally Telly doesn't help because the numbers of times I hear presenters now trying to say that everything is mixed media to make it fit and to try and encourage other people to buy non-classically mixed media products is untrue. And I don't think they're helping the matters either in the process. But yeah, if it works for them, it works for them. Yeah. There we are. So who's good? PCP you're using, Jill? No, it's not PCP that I'm using at all, Faith. It's functioning like a PCP, but it's not the one component crackle product that Dawn had on television the other day, which I tend to consider as more the true PCP medium. But you still need to have a layer of colour below, and then instead of using the one component and then a layer of paint, we're using the primer that goes with the paint system and the paint that is designed to work with it. It actually gives a slightly different form of crackle to the one component crackle, which I adore. As I say, it wouldn't really be a craft project for me if we didn't have some crackle somewhere on it. So those have covered reasonably well with one layer. Let's just wipe that like that. And so it's not all the same, and so I've got a degree of interest and colour to my mix. Hello Anna, thank you. Multi-storey parking in her craft room. Well, that's an interest. Yes, absolutely. The floor is a very, very good place to for drying things. So this is a decor metal mat, and again I've chosen this for a touch of luxury, and I've chosen the rose gold version to keep in with my colour mix, and just to add some detail to my overall piece. Now this is great product. It will work cover onto unprimed glass and things. I have primed these because I think that longevity is important for your pieces, and so I tend to prime most things without thinking about it. And of course we all know that resin's a form of plastic, and actually it's quite difficult to get coverage and things to, but it's not beading, it is covering. And again, this is a product where sometimes you might need more than one layer. So let's just pop that over there. We're going to be adding these. But so my thought process was to use products that had a luxurious feel, because weddings are truly special occasions, and maybe ones that we don't see so very often in this evening, if that makes sense. I think it's a beautiful day, so it's always good. I suspect that's why we've maybe got less people viewing than we often have, but that's fine because it is just a beautiful day, certainly in the UK, and it's quite early in the morning for people in the US. I think, Blanche is from Mexico, so it's probably the early hours of the morning for her. Oh, yes, I've got 4 of these. Excellent. See, I know where I'm going with these, even if you don't. So there we are. So we'll just give these all a good coating. She says, dropping everything. I'm going to have icky hands again, and then we'll give everything a good blast dry whilst we're drying the primer, if that hasn't completely dried, because I need that too. Am I being overly generous with this? Yes. My mediums are really quite fluid, and I think that's tonight, and I think that's partly because of the weather, because everything is because it is very, very warm in here, and even my thicker acrylics are like and my waxes are really liquid at the moment. You could almost drink them out of the flipping bottles, which is not something I'd ever recommend, but they are really quite thick, thin and like fluid. Right, so that can go there. Icky sticky mitts can be dried. Got reasonably good coverage. Yeah, I thought it was it was morning in Mexico, and you might have all sort of lunchtime-ish, so you might have more to do. There we are. So I wonder how many of you have seen on the Pentacolor page some promoing for some new products that are launching next week, I think. Maybe the week after. Very exciting. Do I know what they are? Yes. Have I got some at home? Yes. Am I going to show them? Absolutely not, because I would get hung, drawn and quartered by my lovely Pentacolor managers. However, I am doing the English live introduction next Thursday at the same sort of time. I've got a bit of a busy week because I'm actually still waiting for one of the products to arrive to me, because it wasn't in the box that was sent, which is always helpful. So let's just move those out of the way, So my unhook that from there. There we are, multi-level cut in. And so this is not quite completely dry yet, and that is fine. So let's just give this a waft until we get rid of the whiteness, and then that will be ready. I can waft some of these at the same time to make sure that these are properly dried, because they'll need to be dried at some stage. So let me, if I just heat these up a bit, then that will also help their drying process, and then I can determine whether I really do need another layer of paint or whether I can just distress them, and that will work. So there's inevitably sunny here, 35 degrees in the afternoon. That's too hot, Blanche. I really wouldn't like it. Hi, Sylvia. At that temperature, it's a balmy 20-21 degrees, I think, where I am. Probably a lot hotter in my conservatory because it always gets very warm. But hey ho. Yeah. Just give these another wash, because it all has to be dried one way or the other. And the paint there doesn't take very long to dry on the top of it. Good evening, Gwyneth. And yes, I think it certainly was earlier on in the day, nearer 35 degrees in my conservatory. I have to shut the doors and keep the heat out of the rest of the house, that is for certain. Right, so that one now dry, so that can go there. So as I say, this is the cracking paint system, and I'm using the ivory. Comes in lots of different colours, country blue, Victorian pink, what else does it come with? Anthracite, ivory white, and a brown. So lots of different colours. So that one will do. So this is the paint system, and I'm just going to apply it over the top. I don't particularly want it on the sides. If I end up with a mess, then I will paint the sides later on off air, but that's fine. Don't want that lump either. So this is a paint again where you don't really want to overwork it, because you're at risk of lifting your bottom layer if you do, and it will give me a fine crackle. So let's get rid of that lump from there. It is a bit more tolerant of going over it than the one component is. The one component really doesn't like you going back over it. Quite a lot of this is going to be covered anyway. There we are. So that can go in there. And we'll lid that and give it a little blow dry. And there we are. And I'm going to need to do some tidying up around the edges, and that's fine. Not much of this, to be fair, is going to be visible by the time I've got my rice paper on. But I wanted a paler layer to put my rice paper on, and I wanted to interest around the edges. So that's why I've chosen to do this, and the crackles will show through the rice papers. So you can see how well behaved this is as it's beginning to crackle quite nicely. It's quite, I think I can see on my main computer screen, I've got a really good view. If you're watching on a phone, because it's such a small image, I think it's probably a bit harder for you to see. But it is absolutely cracking fabulously. Janet, just works. I love the cracking paint system. And a little secret, it was the first set of products I ever brought to air for Pent Art on Create & Craft, because I just think that they're different and they're really pretty colours. You know, I might change my mind. I might actually crackle the whole of the box, but you definitely don't need to see me doing that. All of it on air. It is very, very pretty. And we might, because otherwise this could be here till tea time. So yeah, it absolutely works a treat. Now I can see, and I will share with you, I've made a right mess over there. And if I try and cover that with a cracking gel, actually what's going to happen is that I will be able to see the white underneath. So I'm going to separate that out, and I am going to crackle nicely the rest of this top and have the contrast for the base, because I think it will, the overall effect is going to be better if I do that. So just bear with whilst if I pop that over there, while I just add this, and it can dry while we do the next steps, because I think I've got a bit more drying to do for other pieces anyway. But because the sparkling gels that I've used as the base are, as I say, semi-translucent, it really won't work very well covering that. At home, you could actually just use some masking tape before you put your cracking paint on, just to protect it, which would of course be the intelligent thing to do and not the thing that I've just done. But hey ho, you can't have it all in this world. So there we are. So let's just pop that there, pop that there, and then I need to just do this bit. Because it's going to look better. She says, twisting herself up to get that. So there we are. So hopefully, right, so that can sit there, that can sit there, those can go there for the time being. That's going to go back down on the lower level, Anthony, because I think some of these still need a goodly blast dry before I can do any distressing. Actually, no, before I do, I'm going to give these a blast and then I'll add the rice paper. If I heat these back up again, it will help in the drying process. These. I know. You know, the Pentacolor products just work. They just do work. Why wouldn't you want them, is my question, but each to their own, of course. And it very much depends on what you're doing, doesn't it? Right, let's lift this up. So when we're adding rice papers to anything, you need a paler surface underneath, because the colour underneath is going to show. But if I pop this onto here, I can see through the rice paper to see that there is crackle underneath there. And I've got the decoupage glue ultra matte, because I've got a varnish for the top. But you could, and I'm choosing that because this is a matte surface that I'm putting it onto, and if I get spillover, then it's not going to matter too much. So let me just paint the back side of here, because it's going to be easier and less messy overall if I do this, and I can turn it over and add more as I need to. So it doesn't matter which side, which surface you whether you paint the surface you're applying it to, or the surface that your or the rice paper. What you do need is a proper layer of the glue over everything. Otherwise it doesn't stick down, surprisingly. Yeah, no one should be surprised at that concept, but I want to have this sort of more reasonably central in here. I have got some disguising tricks lurking in my armoury if I need them. There we are. So hopefully that, and I'm going to eyeball-ish the centre of my box lid, because I'm happy with eyeball-ish. Now this needs to be sealed because I'm going to choose a bigger brush, because that's going to be there forever. This really does need a layer over the top to seal it in place, because I'm going to have some antiquing paste out, and by sealing it and protecting it I will be able to lift it off. And I've also got some varnish as well. So there we are. So I'll pop this over here. And when I'm doing this, if you're going to add this antiquing paste and things, try and keep your brush strokes in one direction, either up or down, or side to side, rather than scrabbling them in every which direction, because otherwise you tend to find that you end up with horrible lines when you're putting your antiquing mediums on. And it's just, this just gives a nice finish if you do this. But there we are. So that is that in place. Excuse the sniffling, because it's most unacceptable, but it has to be done. So let's just give these all another good waft. That can actually, so the sides of my box are actually almost dry now, which is always, again, a positive feature. Give this a little dry, and then it's going down to the basement again, whilst we concentrate on these pieces. So I could just glue these all in place and then antique them afterwards, but that's absolutely fine. But by antiquing them off the piece and then gluing them, I've got a lot more control as to where I put the antiquing paste on the finished piece, because I then don't have to coat the whole of it. I can literally just go around the edges of my mouldings where where dirt and grime over time would connect, if you want a better way of putting it. So that's why I'm doing it that way. For those of you that think you will never go through a pot of antiquing paste, I regret to inform you that I have now succeeded, which is always an interesting thought process. Now, the antique pastes are oil-based or wax-based. They're certainly, so you do need to have clean your brushes with a solvent-based cleaner. I always have a pot of it on the side anyway, so so that makes life easier. And I'm just going to add this over these pieces. And this is a messy process because I can't manage it without getting stuff every which way. I could hold them with a piece of baby white, perhaps. You see, I like to get the most out of my pots, but why make life more difficult when it will wipe off anyway? And whatever I do, But if you're a clean crafter and don't like it, then please, obviously, yeah, put your hand, put these onto a piece of paper towel before you do this, and that will help. You're going to need something for wiping stuff off with anyway, so it doesn't really matter. There we go. I'm going to do the same with the other pieces in a minute because I want these all to be cohesive. So let me grab a reasonably dry baby wipe, and then I can wipe these off, and now I've got a slightly more distressed finish. And I think, but underneath it all there is a little bit of sparkle still. As I say, it's really going to transfer that to everything. Proper medium. It's messy. Who's saying that? Oh heavens, I've missed masses and masses of messages. I'm sorry, Dolly. Oh yeah. So yeah, sorry. Because I'm watching what I'm doing, I haven't necessarily seen all of the comments that's coming back, so I do apologise if I don't wish anyone to think that I'm being rude. It's just very difficult to craft and watch a feed of lots of messages, but it is really lovely to see everyone interacting with everything. Yeah, I had a little bit of a play, and because I don't think you would naturally think to put the sparkling gels together with with an antiquing product. But I just think it mutes it down, but you don't lose that sparkle, and that was my whole liking from that. Now then, I think these are probably dry. They might not be dry all the way through. It's the potential problem with using the deluxe metal mats and slathering them on as thickly as I did. 2 thin coats might be better, but hey ho. So we're going to completely change the looks of these again in the same way, but it will be subtle. And I think it's really important, and I think that's, it is about understanding your products and what will layer and how things will change everything below by layering. So let's just take some of that excess off there, because I don't really want to be wasted, because a lot of this I'm going to wipe off, so why would I leave it in thick areas when on the surface when I am going to wipe lots of it off. Hey. And why have I now got a snuffly nose? Excuse me, ladies, because I can't easily grab a tissue to blow my nose when the other hand is covered in browny waxy stuff. But hey ho, there we are. Cool. That can go back in that pot, because that is that one can be filed under bin. Hey. I think it's going to look, well, I know it's going to look amazing, because it's going to mute it down nicely. So, but I'm going to have all of the details left. There we are. It just looks so completely different, doesn't it, to the unaged surface. And it's either a look you like or it's a look you don't like. So I'm not a pink girly girl. I really am not. There we are. Excuse me. Oh dear, oh dear. There we are. Fortunately, the antique pastes actually smell quite nice, which is always good. And I hasten to add, it's not them that's making me sneeze. Right, eeny meeny. Let me just give that a good wipe over there. Shuffle that lot out of harm's way. Give this surface a clean down. De-yuck the fingers. As I say, it is a solvent base, so I really should have some white spirit out, but I don't want that out at the moment. So we'll just wipe off as much as we can. Because that's always a good move. Good, that's that one out there. Right, really meanie. So I can see that there is still some white on top of my rice paper and around the edges of the top. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a blast dry. We will paint the ivory system around the edges of the box, and it's properly dried. It's almost there, to be fair. I'll pop that over at that end. Oops, she does, sticking a nits in it. No, everyone in the studio at the weekend on Monday was well, so that's a positive feature. So I sincerely hope I'm not coming down with anything else. Right, let us do the edges. Let's see if I can find the white brush that I used. That one will do. We'll give that a good clean and a dry. And we'll just open that and add some of this paint to here. And of course, again, you could take off the metal fixings if you wanted to before you painted it, but that would mean I had to find a screwdriver, and I haven't got a clue where they are in the house. I always have to ask my hubby to do it, but there we are. Add that into there reasonably carefully. I could actually just paint the inside of the box with ivory paint, and then put some of the gold sparkling gel on top of it. We'll see how I feel, but maybe not tonight, because otherwise we'll be here for a silly amount of time. Let me just wipe that off there, give that a little bit of a clean. That can go there. That can go there. Let's just grab that, otherwise we'll have the box sticking to itself. Caroline, when on Pentart I go live at 6, on the Hungarian Post it will often say 7, but that's because they're an hour ahead of us in Hungary. And then if I'm doing lives elsewhere, it's 7 o'clock. I find it's impossible to keep up with everything. You just give these a little bit of a blast around the edges. I'm doing this just because I don't want the box to stick together, but it will. The live will be stored, so and it will be on Pentart's YouTube channel, so you should be able to find it easily enough to watch the whole thing back. And I have shared it to my page, so you can pick it up there if that's easier for you. Cool. Right, I should now be able to safely pop that down. As I say, the inside I can add colour to off camera. So my box is now two-toned. I've got my crackle and I've got my sparkling gel. And of course I've got the sparkling gel underneath here. So what have I got this little lot out and ready for? Wow. These are sided decorations. I really didn't want that white paint on there, so let's just take that off there and there. Here we are. So we just have to get these balanced properly and nicely, because otherwise it won't sort of work out together in the way that I wanted it to. There we are. That piece will stick it neatly into there. And this is purely about oh, that's good. Actually just playing with whatever bits you've got until you find a combination of pieces that will work together. And I might need to do a little bit of trimming here. So I'm going to pop these two pieces down because then I can shovel some of the other bits around. Absolutely. Now I already knew where I was putting these, to be fair. She says, and I've got a combination of glue, and let's grab a pin because I've blocked that up, and also some heavy body gel. There we are. Let's unblock that. My pin is on a little magnet that I can then put. Right, if it's going to be a pain, we'll just grab a heavy body gel, which will take a bit longer to grab, but will work. So let us just pick up a little plastic spatula. Good evening, Wendy. Pop a little bit of that there. So I'm just going to add some of this to here and pop that into place on there. There we are. That can sit there. And let's just do the same with its counterpart in crime. And these are heat moldable, so I'm just going to give those a little blast so that they sit down flat while they grab. Don't you worry, Wendy, it's the Pentacolor Lives are always at 6, purely because that means it's 7 o'clock in Hungary. And of course the company is Hungarian, so it just makes it easier for a lot of the European viewers to watch when, if it goes live as a time that's better for them. So those pieces are nicely into there, and now I can wiggle these pieces in. So that is going to sit neatly into there. And the joy of the gel medium, of course, is that I can and I've got wriggle room, so I can pop this on quite happily now and move it about. There we are. So I've given that a little wriggle to take that floral element into there, and this one I'm linking again all of my elements together, and my heavy body gel is going to let me build my layers. Now, Pentart's heavy body gel matte is opaque when it's dry, so you really don't want to have a thick layer or a big glob of it anywhere, because you will notice it. And that's fine if that's the look you want, but maybe not quite so fine if it's not the look that you want. That can go into there. Where we're going to struggle this evening is, I think, putting the bits on the side that I want to pop on the side. So because this lot's going to take a little bit of time to grab in nicely, but we will bear with, and we will get there. And of course, this, you know, this could be done with any combination of swirly molds. Could just be done with all florals if that's what you wanted. You know, it's up to you what you use. But I wanted something that was reasonably classical, but still reasonably pretty. There we are. So those are sitting in there. I can lift that off. And that can sit onto there. So let me just give this a little mop, get rid of some of this excess, lift it out until we're happy. I could just lift it off with a brush, but you need to make sure if you're using a brush that you stick it into water fairly quickly afterwards. But a brush is ideal for getting into the nooks and the crannies, obviously, that big mitts won't necessarily get into. So then we just have some subtle added brown along that. Now then, the next question is, will it all go tumbling off if I tip it upside down? Let me just squash that on better. So the joy of the heavy body gel is that it will grab reasonably quickly, although it's going to take a good while to actually set properly. But hopefully, if I tip this over now, it's onto its side to show you what I'm going to do with the side pieces. It'll be okay. So I have matching pairs of these that I'm then going to pop that onto, if that makes sense. Well, it makes sense to my head. And yeah, all of these swirly bits come out of actually one mold. The little floral bits don't, but there are lots of icon molds out there. So that can sit there underneath the lock, so I know that it's reasonably centralized. Thank you, Francine, for I'm glad you like it. I think it's a pretty project. I think it would also make a very lovely wedding keepsake box, and I've deliberately chosen a pair of the swirls that go in opposite directions, because that I could have picked two, because I just think it works not better like that. You'll have to ask them that, my darling. I have no control. So that piece can go onto there. There we are. You can still see bits that I don't like lurking around there. So those need to sit there. That needs to sit there. They haven't gone walkabouts too badly. Yeah. This might be a bit more of a challenge. Thank you, Elizabeth. That's really lovely to see. I'm glad you like it. Maybe it's quite a classical piece, but I think if you're doing stuff for a wedding, for a keepsake box, then actually you need to have things that are going to stand the test of times. Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to happen, but because there's a certain inevitability when you're with things that just need time to dry in place before you go moving them around. So I have a matching set of those pieces that I will put onto the other side, onto this side here, off once these ones have dried in place, because I think they just need time to grab and adhere before I go moving it around. And I will paint the inside, and there is our completed piece then. But that side, so that's what the top looks like. This is what the will look like when it's dried, and I've cleaned up the mess that I'm now making because I'm not leaving it time to settle and dry. And I will do the other side of the box and probably just paint the inside cream and then add some gold. I will share the pictures to Pentart, and if they don't want, they may publish them, or I will publish them over the next few days. Never mind, Agnieszka. It's one of those things, we cannot be in 3 places at once. The live will be there for watching later on, of course. But it's a very U-type project because I have had antiquing paste out, and I've got lots and lots of moulds. So there is the piece for here. I will repeat that on the opposite side when this is dry. And that is the top of it for now. So ladies, I hope that this has been useful, that you've enjoyed the process, and that is all for tonight. I am back live here at 6 o'clock next Thursday evening with a launching in English. The product launches will be a couple of days ahead in Hungarian, but the English live, the live with the English language will be on Thursday with me. Fingers crossed that the one remaining product actually arrives over the weekend and I have a bit of a time to play with them, because it could be a challenge if otherwise. So that's all for now, my darlings. Take care, stay safe, and enjoy the weekend ahead. Bye.